It's my pleasure today to talk to Chris Laxdal from Prophix. Chris has been a longtime customer of Arista and Awake, and he's been gracious enough today to share some of his experiences that we hope will be helpful to customers like him that are dealing with security challenges and zero trust challenges today. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about Prophix,
Sure.
and kind of what are you guys up to?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you, Rudolph. Well, first and foremost, my name's Kristofer Laxdal. I'm the Director of Information Security and Privacy Officer for Prophix. Prophix is in the corporate performance management space with over 1,600 customers globally. We operate in multi-jurisdictions. We have concerns in and around privacy within those jurisdictions. Our primary focus, really, from my standpoint, my role is to protect our customers' privacy and the trust that they place in our brand. We are an innovator in the market space. We provide SaaS services, which is an important note, and I'll speak to some of those challenges as we move forward in our time together in terms of our discussion. So really, global profile. We have to meet regulatory conditions within various jurisdictions respective to privacy, GDPR being one of them. We have to maintain that trust that our customers place in us to be custodians and partners with custodians of their data and partnered with them as they take that journey or that digital transformation journey. So enough about me, Rudolph. Let's talk about some of the intricacies of zero trust.
Yeah, no, I mean, as someone responsible for security, and Chris, trust me, I don't envy your job because I know it's a hard one. How do you think about zero trust, right? I mean, it's a little bit of a buzzword, but how do you think about it in the context of your enterprise?
Yeah, I think, it is a bit of a buzzword. However, if you look back, and I've been in the InfoSec game as a practitioner for close to 26 years. And I remember when John Kinderhag came out with the concept back in 2010. I started really getting interested in the concept of zero trust in and around 2012. And one of the reasons that I really took an interest in zero trust is I realized that the current models aren't working. Every year that we go forward as security practitioners, the breaches are on the uptick. So there's something broken. How do we fix this? We had an old model where we had sort of the moat and the firewall and the perimeter. And the assets that existed behind that perimeter, and maybe some two-factor authentication. But as we move forward with SaaS services and digital transformations, really the levels of controls that were placed behind access and authentication didn't keep pace. So an example being, you'd have some of the legacy type environments, and companies would rush into a cloud environment, and they would become customers of one of the large email providers. And at the same time, they're federating their IDs across that infrastructure that exists behind their firewall. And those IDs are also the same network login IDs that exist inside their firewall.
That's right.
Given that, if there is a phishing attempt, without proper zero trust controls in place, that potential hacker or whoever is the bad actor is leveraging those credentials has the keys to your kingdom. All it really takes is a domain admin account to be phished, or someone with the access control levels to access privileged information, let alone data exfiltration and the ramifications there in terms of the actions that they could take. So really, zero trust has been on my radar for years. I think one of the issues that had precluded me of moving forward was really working with legacy networks that were very, very brittle in nature. You really couldn't implement the controls. A lack of internal digital transformation strategy. How are we going to do this? How are we going to manage our federated IDs as we extend that perimeter? So we're not dealing with a castle and moat anymore. We're sort of dealing with trenches, various trenches, if you will, and trying to protect that trench infrastructure instead of that moat around the castle. So things have shifted. And really what precluded, again, just to recap, was I don't believe the technology was there back in 2012, 2013 to be able to provide for the visibility. I'm happy to state that one of the areas that Awake and Arista is providing our business is that visibility and that comfort level I would suggest to anyone in the industry that zero trust is a journey. It's not something you can turn on overnight. But really, if you want to reduce security breaches, zero trust, in my opinion, is the way to go. And there are some tangible benefits outside of just the comfort level or the ability to sleep at night, and we can discuss some of those later.
Yeah, no, I think, Chris, you hit on a couple of key points, right? Like, firstly, I remember another CISO, telling me that, hey, I don't get why my entire security is based on one person picking their pet's name as their password, right? And unfortunately, I think, as you said, like, a lot of times the password is becoming that one-stop shop for failure, if you will. The
Absolutely.
other thing, Chris, and you're living this, just having talked to you, the definition of the campus, right? Like, where people are working from is completely changed. And like, that almost necessitates the zero trust, right? Because you don't have people necessarily coming into an office anymore. I mean, how are you guys dealing with that?
Well, we were fortunate enough, and I'll use COVID as an example, and we were on our journey for zero trust as COVID began and the lockdowns began. So we didn't necessarily have to pivot too quickly. We were already partnered with Arista and Awake, and already had a roadmap to zero trust. In that regard, though, there are a lot of companies that took on unnecessary risk burdens by not having a digital roadmap in place and having to pivot very, very quickly. I would suggest that they're taking on risk without a solid plan. But really, COVID allowed us to accelerate and get buy-in from senior level management that the course of action we were taking was the right course of action. It allows us to leverage further and further into cloud SaaS services and be assured that we understand where our data is and that we're protecting that data at all times.
And how much of a challenge is things like IoT and DevOps, and because you're dealing with all of this, right? I mean, you've got new devices that you didn't know about yesterday or may have not even existed yesterday. How's that been playing out for you?
Well, really, if we looked at and with Awake and Arista's assistance, and also looking at the NIST guidance framework, so we've got to cover off those 3 pillars of network-based domain segmentation. We've got to look at situational awareness, AI-driven network detection. So really, one of the key points that we implemented, or one of the key solutions we implemented within Prophix, was the Awake system to provide that AI-driven network awareness, north-south traffic, east-west traffic. So really, I have a real good grasp on what's on my network at any given time. Any device that is new that hasn't been seen before, I can find it. I have actionable high fidelity alerts coming out of the system. So I think that's paramount as well. It's understanding what's in your infrastructure, and it's going to be fluid because of the work from home environment. And you've got to make sure that those IPs and those devices are known and trusted. If they're not trusted, no access.
Right. Yeah, no, and you touched clearly on visibility, right? And we talked a lot about it today. But then the other thing is, to your point, the threats themselves are evolving, right? I mean, it's not like you can go look for specific pieces of malware like you used to. No. What's keeping you up at night these days, Chris, other than your day job?
Really, for me, it's because our customers put such a high value of trust in our product and our brand. And we have robust backup systems, and there's a component of ransomware that will encrypt. Let's put that one aside for a moment. Let's go back to our brand, and let's go back to why we're trusted in the market space. It's because we take care of that data. What keeps me up at night is data exfiltration. And there's an area, and I spoke to earlier about some of the benefits of zero trust. As you roll out and try to become, as an organization, compliant with all the various privacy standards and regulations, zero trust is the way to go. Under GDPR, you have to be able to effectively show the regulator or show your data protection authority, this is where we're connecting to, and here's what the data is doing and who has access to that data at all times. So really, what keeps me up at night is ensuring that trust is maintained, that I have with our customers, ensuring that data is not exfiltrated, and then at the same time, keeping pace with all the global regulations from a privacy perspective as they move forward. Again, utilizing zero trust and partnering with Arista Awake has allowed me to sleep, and not so much insomnia anymore.
Excellent. We might have a new slogan, get awake and sleep better.
Yeah, I was thinking the other day of the mantra really that I remember and writing on my whiteboard is, if you recall the old X-Files series where Mulder would say, trust no one. And that's really the approach that we're taking now, is trust nothing and trust no one within your network, and make sure that they're validated end to end, including the devices.
Yeah, and speaking of trust no one, right? I mean, segmentation, again, you've been a proponent of it for a long time.
Yes.
How have you kind of been able to realize this? Because segmentation comes with some challenges, right? And how have you been able to realize it and really kind of draw the benefits out?
Yeah, I think really from a customer side or a customer focused side of our operation, we could realize benefits because we built in zero trust from the ground up. As I said previously, trying to implement zero trust in legacy environments, networks can be very, very brittle, and that can be the challenge. Right. So we were really fortunate to come with a matured product that there was years of engineering behind the product itself before our software as a service was launched. And so really we took a security first approach. So that's how we overcame those sets of challenges, really.
So Chris, just to kind of wrap up, right? Like, as an industry, as a company, we can always do more. We can always do better. I mean, what's on your wish list, right? What would you like to see the industry, companies like Arista, like Awake, do more of?
Really, I think that one of the areas, and you had mentioned that zero trust is coming to the forefront now as people are recognizing digital strategies and implementing them. And we have COVID and the shift is from the work from home environment. And quite clearly, I don't think we're ever going back to the office 100% of time. I think we can all agree on that. I'd like to see the industry become more cohesive in terms of recommendations and how products are implemented, not necessarily product specific. But I find if I look at the criterion for zero trust right now, there's not enough specificity in terms of what someone should do when they're really going down and down to the detail and starting this zero trust journey. So really a more consultative approach with the vendors overall, or a more general best practices listing. I just find that there's a lot of the information can be ambiguous. And there's more than one way to skin a cat, quite frankly, with the zero trust initiatives. I think quite clearly from my side, and I've done my due diligence, Arista and Awake have provided that path for me. But I think just general in the industry space, it needs to be a bit more succinct and clear for people to make those decisions.
Yeah, no, I think, Chris, you kind of nailed it, right? I mean, when you said earlier, zero trust is not a destination, it's a journey.
That's right.
It's not a product. It's a process that you go through. And Chris, again, appreciate all of the insights. I think our audience will appreciate the insights as well. Thanks so much for joining us today. And we've loved to have you here, and we've loved to have you as a customer for the last few years. So thanks again.